This real harsh training, like special forces, is really what we were. I mean, nowadays we'd be special forces, and about 1 out of 4 didn't make it through that training. I mean, they tried to wash you out because if you're going to quit, they didn't want you to quit in the plane. I don't know, when you're 19 and trained that way, you think you can take on the whole German army by yourself. But it didn't work out that easy. Pretty exciting for an old cotton picker. No, we had made 5 jumps to qualify as paratroopers, but our next jump was in Normandy. 12 o'clock that night started D-Day. It was 2 o'clock in the morning on D-Day that we parachuted in, and then those guys was coming in on the beach at 6. We jumped in there to help relieve them, but they scared us so. But it's not real healthy to wake a bunch of Germans that's well armed up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, they came out shooting at everything. They're shooting at you anywhere. They hit some of our men in there, but they blew up some of the planes before the fellas had time to get out, and that was the terrible thing. Some of the guys was wounded. One guy was all burnt up with white phosphorus. It was his that he tried to throw out a barn door and it bounced back in and exploded, and that was a sad sight.
I went back at Pearl Harbor and they signed me on the ship to go on out and to go into battle. And I went in on Tinian in the Mariana Island, and Saipan was another. Right there was one of the Mariana Islands. We had already secured there. Before me, some Marines had already secured it, and we went ahead, and I was on Tinian for about a month, and we went back over to Saipan to clear it back up. A lot of, people was in caves and around and hiding and then trying to protect them what they had, and so. I was in a firefight there till we secured Saipan, and so I stayed at Saipan and getting ready to go to Japan. We heard that the next operation was going to go into, so we said, you're going to Okinawa, which is a big island right south part of Japan. Said, we're going to Okinawa, and so we boarded this ship and we're going to Okinawa and got up there. And my division was 2nd Marine Division, 6th Regiment, and the 2nd Marine Battalion and G Company. We went on a ship and they held us in a reserve off the coast there of Okinawa, where 2 other divisions, wasn't receiving much resistance, and taking over, and so they put me. I never did go under, and they started using these Kamikaze planes, coming down bombing the ships, American ships, and so they put us all down below, and we went back up on a ship, us on the same ship. Transport, big transport. And we went in there and they sent us in at Nagasaki, which is the 2nd town or city that we bombed. Nagasaki was 2nd, Hiroshima was the 1st, and Nagasaki. But we went in Nagasaki and you couldn't, everything just torn up, and it was just plant bodies, people just, nothing. You'd see a tower, water tower, still standing, but buildings are just scattered. It's pathetic. If you see something like that, you want to talk. Get away from this bombing and shooting and killing people.
Freedom means everything to me. It means that if we didn't have freedom, that we wouldn't be able to worship with our different religions making no difference what it is. And it just means that, well, personally for me, I would die for freedom. I mean, that might sound like you're bragging, but it's not.
Freedom? What does freedom mean to everyone? You know, first place, you have to be without freedom to ever know what it's like to have freedom. And there's no Americans that's been without freedom, really. So you'd have to spend some time probably in Russia or Czechoslovakia, somewhere where they don't have freedom.
Freedom is wonderful. If you don't think it's not wonderful, you go over there. When we got there and where the Japanese had those people and the little kids with arms about that big around and tummies swelled way out. And it was something you can't imagine.
If you're in combat and just someone is shooting at you and bombing you, you can't think of what freedom I have. You know, you think of preserving what you got and holding on.
Freedom to me means the opportunity to pursue whatever desires you have without interference from government, other than the fact that the rules you have to abide by. I feel sometimes that we may be letting it slip through our fingers.
It means everything in the world. I mean, we participate in the local parades the veterans do, and you see so many people that do not put their hand over their heart and all, or don't pull their cap off or whatever. Just this morning, I drove out going west out of town, and the car wash there, they had this big American flag there, and it was ripped and all of the stripes and everything. Just happened that the man that does the maintenance work there was there. And this has been going on down there for about 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, I stopped by and asked him, I said, I belong to the American Legion, I'm a veteran. I said, would you do something for me? He said, what? I said, would you take that flag down? And he said, I sure will. I said, if you'll take it down, I'll take care of it and have it disposed of in the right way. Flag to me means so much.
It means everything to me, everything. My whole family, I had an uncle that was at Pearl Harbor. I had an uncle that was in German prison camp for 18 months.
Means a hell of a lot. Not necessarily because everything was okie-dokie, because it wasn't.
Well, it means that that's a symbol of a free people that came over and made this nation what it is.
I got one flying at my house day and night out there right now. I got a light on it. It's an all-weather flag, and it burns 24 hours a day. And I look at it every time I go out. And every time I look at it, I think of those that didn't come back.
Oh man, see these flags, U.S. flags, after you wake up for almost a year, waking up looking at swastikas, I'll tell you. I mean, I used to say the Pledge of Allegiance and all in school like we used to do. And, you know, it meant a lot to me. I was always felt patriotic.
Well, it, of course, represents our country and our history and the many things that have taken place in the past. And it upsets me terribly when I see it disrespected. And some people burn it which I understand is a proper way to dispose of it, but not in the way some people do. I don't like to see it left out, some on a flagpole somewhere and become tattered and torn and all. I think it deserves all the respect that we can possibly muster.